Welcome back. I'm Kim Bailey, she's Fulyana Osborne, and this is Inside Exec. Today we're continuing our discussion with Jamie Wadley on the entrepreneurial approach to business. What do you see then as the progression of business makeup, I suppose, in, say, the next 10 years? Is it going to remain as government organisations, corporate, big corporate, small corporate, medium-sized, family businesses, individuals?
I think if we look back over the last 15, maybe 20 years with the internet becoming a standard tool for us all, it's effectively levelled the playing field for small players like myself to be able to compete with corporates at the same level. And the technology is really galloping away at an exponential rate at the moment, so this is only going to continue. And I think as the technology gets more powerful, it will empower and enable people at a grassroots level, the family business, the owner-operator, the single entrepreneur, the small entrepreneurial organisation, the power to compete with larger and larger corporate entities. And as you've said, Fulyana, the value of these businesses we've seen happen over the last few years where they've only 12 months or 18 months old and they're worth billions of dollars. So certainly from a competitive point of view, I think the strength will come from smaller organisations because they will be empowered by technology and because they have the ability to shift their focus very quickly and adapt to things that they find out along the way and as needs change that we see. I think AI is going to play a big part in how businesses run in the future.
So do you see the employment of so people who are joining the workforce now or middle management now or moving on to senior roles now, do you see that they will always have, those roles will always be around? That jobs generally will be around?
Well, I think the nature of work will change dramatically in the next maybe 8 to 10 years. And virtually any job that is a strong systems-based job can be replaced by technology. And anything that is just shuffling paper or filling out forms or going through a fairly regimented process can be easily replaced by a bit of artificial intelligence. Yeah. And as much as that sounds a little bit like science fiction, personally I think it's just around the corner. Yeah. We've had things like Google's DeepMind is still a fairly specific form of AI, but these sort of things are going to become general very soon. And even, dare I say it, accountants, doctors are going to really have to think carefully about their jobs because it will be done better by iPhone 12.
Yes. Well, some of it is exciting and some of it is kind of scary because...
It's a bit scary, I agree.
It's scary because it's thinking somebody's going to operate on me that is not a person. And when you think about something like that, two things go through mind. If you think about it with that emotion, you think, well, actually, room for error could be much less. There's no human intervention, infection, blah, blah, blah. But when you think about it from another way, it's like anything new. Until you get the confidence in it, whether it is physical, medical, or financial, the days when you just go wave your card and you get money. But with all of these things, when we get new innovation, there'll be new challenges. For example, the waving of the card and there's somebody walking past you in the street and scanning it as well. That will create more innovation to think about how to make sure that it's safe. So we're continually challenging our brains to do more and more exciting things, which means the entrepreneurs will continue to flourish.
I agree with that. I listened to a man called Peter Diamandis. He is the man behind the X Prize, and he spoke about the adoption of self-driving cars. And there's still a lot of resistance to that, even though I think most of us are aware it will happen. But he spoke of the similarity between self-driving cars and when elevators used to have people who drove the elevators up and down.
Yes.
And then the elevators started to control themselves. And when people first got in those elevators without someone pushing the handle up and down, they were a bit worried. Yes. But it didn't take very long to forget that there used to be someone who drove that and just press the button and arrive at the floor you want. I think in the next 10 or 15 years, there are probably children running around in primary school now who will never learn how to drive and they won't think twice about it. And I think the rest of technology is the same, but becomes transparent as it should be. So it's a good thing, but as you say, it is a little bit scary, but it's like anything.
Yeah, like anything that's new. Yes.
Just along those lines, how do you maintain a level of knowledge across all of the things that interest you? Well, how do you know these technologies are coming?
There's this secret weapon I've got. I call it the internet.
Oh my God! Don't tell Fulyana. She's only just learned how to turn this computer on.
I'll stop it.
And yeah, I have. I don't watch a lot of TV, and I tend to get
Yeah.
most of my news through news aggregators. And the news aggregators learn to know what I like, and I get the news I want to read. And if I find something that tickles my fancy, I'll explore that a bit further, and that helps keep me up to date with the areas of interest which I. And technology is one of those things. I'm a bit of a techno geek, which is part of my background, but I get fascinated by certain things, and it's not hard these days, as we're saying, with research to find out the latest and greatest information from all over the world as it happens almost.
So, because of your nature of thirsty to learn what's going on, you went and seek it through the internet. Any of us can do that, really. There's nothing to stop, but we have to wanting to do it. The other way is just as you need it. I certainly fall into the second category. I might come across a conversation, I'm trying to help someone and we talk about a topic, but I don't feel, and I say it up front, that's not my area of expertise, but then I go and learn it.
Yeah.
Because I have no reason not to, and I have no excuse not to, because I can get onto the internet.
What other things do you do for personal development, apart from your news feed?
I do like podcasts, I must admit, and I find, as much as I like reading, I tend to absorb information very well by listening. And I find if I'm in the car, I'll often listen to podcasts on topics that I like. If I'm at the gym, I'll put the earphones in and I'll listen to things I like, and it gives me, I don't know, maybe an hour or 90 minutes a day where I can take in information at a time which would otherwise be wasted, and it helps keep me on the leading edge of things I like to be on the leading edge of. And, there's a heap of ways to get information off the net these days. It's not difficult, but reading is good fun too. So it's almost recreational now.
One of the questions that we did want to ask you that we had both thought about was the most influential book you've read.
The book I really love and highly recommend to everyone is Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And this is a book I think everyone quotes it, but I don't know how many people have read it, but it's a book I try to read at least once a year, and it's a method that I put in practice, and I find it is extremely powerful. In fact, I often say if you do read the book, please use the new powers you discover for good, not for evil.
Yes.
Because it is an incredibly powerful way to not manipulate people, but to get things done.
Did you read it early in life? Has it always been with you?
No, it's something I probably read first, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago. It reinforced, I think, a lot of what I had in me as who I was, and it was nice to read that it wasn't something I was doing wrong. I think the word that sums that book up for me is charm, and charm is a double-edged sword. A lot of people say, if you're charming, that you're doing it as a tool of manipulation. But I think if you use it to provide a positive result for the person you're using, using it on, I think it's beneficial for both sides. And once again, it comes out with that old cliche of win-win, and that's just me from head to toe.
Well, you're right. I mentioned earlier that I've noticed that you help people just to do it. And I've noticed you even share your travel experiences with people.
Oh, she's done internet research.
I can turn the computer on. and that's really good because, let's face it, I think a lot of us may have a trip or two and then we'll tell a couple of people about, but wouldn't go to the trouble of being so good as to share it in the way you did.
Oh, I don't know if I was being so good. I think I was just blowing my own trumpet between you and I.
Yeah, but you could have done that in your own circles. You put it there for anyone who wants to. I mean, I know there is, all these other sites where tell you about different things, but with you it was a YouTube, so you actually put a bit of a video, etc. What I'd like you to take us to is, why sailing? Of all the sport, why sailing? What do you get out of it? And how does that make you feel?
Sailing's something I came to fairly late in life. A lot of the people I sail with tend to have done it as kids and continue to do it because they do love it. Yeah. But it's something that was introduced to me by a friend of mine about 10, 12 years ago, and I helped him sail his boat around Sydney Harbour, and I found it was just something that I took a shine to straight away. He actually invited me away to the Med where he bought a boat over there, and I helped him on that a few years where we sailed around Croatia and the Adriatic and around Greece. And I just loved it. I just thought
Yes.
this is a really, really great lifestyle.
Yes.
And I've since found out that some of my family history was to do with the sea, so I don't know, maybe there's a bit of genetic stuff happening. But the sailing is the one thing I can do that takes me out of my zone where I'm focusing on marketing or focusing on the businesses or the businesses I'm trying to create, where I do not think of them at all. Once I get on a boat, I'm there to sail. I'm still the same person, but there's different neural pathways get used and everything else is put on hold. But if I'm in the shower, if I'm listening to the radio, if I'm driving the car, I'm still that guy who's thinking about what should be happening at the office, what should be happening at the business. But sailing just takes me completely away from that, so it's a good break.
Yet sailing still gives you the other elements: challenge, unforeseen circumstances, the weather. You can read the weather forecast and get out there and it can change. So you've got to be prepared for that. So there's parallels. You're working with other people. It's your safety and somebody else's safety, so it's about you and others. So there's a lot of parallels. So what I'm seeing is that whilst you turn off some of the thinking, you're applying completely different energies and thought processes, but you're still managing those parts. That is challenge, achievement, satisfaction, helping somebody else and helping yourself.
That's true. There's a quote that comes to mind from a man I've studied called T. Harv Eker, an American guy who is in interpersonal development. And he says, how we do anything is how we do everything. And I think that's very, very true. So the me that is on the boat is the same me that's in the office, but it's just a different set of challenges and a different set of tasks. But I probably approach it exactly the same way. It's just different things are involved. So yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Now, I think for Jamie, I think we actually wanted to give him too many questions. Is there anything you'd like to share, either with us or any of the listeners, about two things? One, if they're looking for you, how do they find you? Also, any other tips that we haven't covered?
I think we've probably thrashed through the tip side of things pretty well. If you wanted to find out a little bit more about me, the easiest place to do it is on my name site, and that's jamiewadley.com. And the spelling of that is JamieWadley.com. And you should see some information there, and you'll probably hear a bit of what you've heard today out of me. What I write is how I speak, is who I am, so you'll hear similar things.
It's good consistency.
Is that what it is? I thought it was Monday.
Just on that, before we do wind up, it's interesting that you bring that up about how you write is how you talk, and that's what people will hear. Is there one modality that you prefer over others to get a message across? Just in terms of marketing? Well, let's look at marketing of this podcast itself, of Inside Exec. Should we be looking, at the present time, we have a very little intro that is written word to the episode itself, but we have the episodes, and we don't particularly market them any other way than through our own networks. So should we be looking at something else? On the spot advice, unpaid.
Yeah, it was a bit cheeky, I think.
There's never a perfect solution, so is there another way you can do the marketing of this? Absolutely. Without having a look at the granular level of what you're doing now, it's hard for me to say what will work and what won't. But content is still king. People want the information, and the easiest way to get found is if someone jumps onto Google and Googles a certain question. And what you need to be able to do is in the text that you have on the website that describes what a podcast or an individual episode will be about, we need to address the questions that will be asked and put those there, and Google will match the search question to the answer that you're providing in the podcast, and it'll bring two and two together, and you'll get some love off Google and hopefully some page rank, and people will click on you and find out more about you, and they'll be able to pick up the mode of learning they prefer. Yeah, as I said, I enjoy listening to things, but I do enjoy reading as well. If you offer the podcast obviously is an audio, I'd probably have a transcript of that so people can read what's there as well. And I don't know, eventually maybe it's worth considering video too, and break the video out into audio and the audio into transcription, so you can cover a few different modalities from the one product. But any more than that, I'll have to charge you.
I was waiting for that. I'm glad to hear it.
Well, we thank you for your time today. We've certainly covered some ground, and I think we've all got some things that we can think about. I'm Kim Bailey. She's Fulyana Osborne. This is Inside Exec, and we've been talking with Jamie Wadley.